Marcus Chen stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of his penthouse, watching the city lights blur into streaks. In exactly 1 hour, he would become blind. Not really blind, but everyone would believe he was. Even his wife of 3 years, Alicia. The decision had been eating at him for months, ever since his lawyer, David, dropped the bombshell during their quarterly review. Marcus, I need to tell you something about Alicia. There's been unusual activity on her private accounts. Large transfers. Secret meetings with a man named Trevor Matthews. Marcus's hand tightened around the glass of whiskey. Trevor Matthews. The name haunted him. His former business partner, who he'd cut out of their tech empire 5 years ago after discovering Trevor had been embezzling funds. The same man who swore revenge. And now, apparently, the same man meeting secretly with his wife. Sir, the doctor is here, his assistant announced. Dr. Morrison entered, carrying the specialized contact lenses that would make Marcus's eyes appear clouded and unseeing. They'd spent weeks perfecting the act, the hesitant movements, the reaching for objects he couldn't quite find, the vulnerable dependence on others. Are you certain about this? Dr. Morrison asked. Testing your wife this way. I need to know the truth, Marcus said coldly. If she's loyal, she'll help me through this. If she's not, he didn't finish a sentence. He didn't need to. The lenses went in. Marcus practiced the unseeing stare in the mirror, his heart pounding. In 1 hour, he would stage a dramatic accident in his home office. He would hit his head and wake up unable to see. And then, he would discover who his wife really was. The question that terrified him most wasn't whether she was betraying him. It was what he would do when he found out. Before we dive into what happens next, I need you to do something. Look at that subscribe button below this video. You see it? That little button holds the key to never missing stories like this again. Now, Marcus is about to test his wife's loyalty, but I'm going to test yours. Are you loyal enough to hit that subscribe button? Will you stay for the full story, or disappear like a disloyal spouse? The notification bell is right there too. Ring it. Because what happens next in Marcus's life, you won't believe it. Trust me. Just like Marcus needs to trust Alicia, I need to trust that you'll subscribe. Don't let me down. Now, let's get back to the story. Act 1. The Fall. Marcus positioned himself carefully near the edge of his mahogany desk. Alicia was downstairs, getting ready for her evening yoga class, or so she said. Through his earpiece, his head of security, James, confirmed everything was in place. 3, 2, 1. Marcus threw himself backward, knocking over his laptop and a stack of files. He let out a convincing yell and crashed to the floor, making sure to hit his head on the desk corner with just enough force to create a realistic injury, but not enough to actually harm himself. Within seconds, he heard Alicia's footsteps racing up the stairs. Marcus! Oh my God, Marcus! Her voice was panicked. He felt her hands on his face, trembling. Baby, can you hear me? What happened? Marcus blinked slowly, letting his eyes drift without focus. Alicia? I can't. Everything's dark. Why can't I see? What? No, her voice broke. Your eyes are open. Marcus, look at me. I can't see you, he whispered. Alicia, I can't see anything. The ambulance arrived within minutes, also part of the plan. At the hospital, Dr. Morrison performed his role perfectly, running tests and delivering the devastating news. Temporary blindness from head trauma, possibly permanent. They'd need to wait and see. In the hospital room, Marcus listened to Alicia cry. Her sobs sounded genuine, but he'd learned in business that the best liars were the most convincing. I'm here, she kept saying, holding his hand. I'm right here, baby. We'll get through this. But as she spoke, Marcus heard her phone buzz. Once. Twice. 3 times. Each buzz felt like a nail in his heart. Do you need to get that? He asked carefully. A pause. No, nothing's more important than you. The phone buzzed again. Alicia, answer it. I'm fine. She squeezed his hand. I said no. You need me right now. But later that night, when she thought he was asleep, he heard her slip out to the hallway. Through the door, her whispered voice reached him. I can talk now. Yes, I know. Tomorrow? We'll discuss it tomorrow. Marcus's jaw clenched in the darkness. Tomorrow. He'd find out tomorrow what secrets his wife was keeping. Act 2. The first crack. 6:30. First week home was a masterclass in observation. Marcus shuffled through his own house, pretending to learn the layout anew. While Alicia guided him, patient and attentive, she moved his furniture slightly to help him navigate. She prepared his favorite meals. She read him the news every morning. She was perfect. Too perfect. On the third day, Trevor Matthews called the house phone. "Hello?" Alicia answered, then her voice dropped. "I told you not to call here." "I know, but fine." "Yes." 30 minutes. Marcus, sitting in the living room with unseeing eyes, heard every word. After she left claiming she needed to run errands, Marcus called James. "Follow her. I want to know everywhere she goes, everyone she meets." An hour later, James reported back. She met Trevor Matthews at the Harbor Cafe. They sat in a corner booth. Very intense conversation. At one point, she was crying. He handed her something looked like documents. She put them in her purse without looking at them. Marcus felt his world cracking. "What else?" "Sir." They held hands for about 30 seconds. Then she pulled away and left. That night, Alicia was unusually quiet at dinner. Marcus fumbled with his fork, and she gently corrected his grip, her touch tender. "Marcus," she said softly, "I need to tell you something." His heart stopped. This was it. The confession. There's been something I've been dealing with. Something I haven't told you about." "What is it?" He kept his voice neutral, though his hands were shaking. I can't tell you yet, but soon. I promise. Just trust me." Trust. The word hung in the air like poison. But then she did something unexpected. She began to cry, really cry. Not the controlled sobs of someone putting on a show. "I'm so scared, Marcus. What if you never see again? What if she couldn't finish?" Marcus reached for her, finding her face with hands that genuinely trembled now. Was this real? Or was she the best actress he'd ever encountered? "We'll be okay," he said, though he wasn't sure what he believed anymore. That night, he heard her crying in the bathroom. He stood outside the door, torn between revealing his deception and continuing the test. He chose to wait. The next morning, Marcus made a decision. If Alicia was betraying him, he needed proof. He asked James to install cameras throughout the house hidden with audio. "Sir, are you sure about this?" James hesitated. "Once you go down this road, do it," Marcus commanded. "I need to know the truth." For 3 days, nothing unusual happened. Alicia cared for him diligently. She canceled her yoga classes, her book club meetings, her lunch dates with friends. Her entire world seemed to revolve around him. But on the 4th day, when she thought he was napping, she made a phone call. Marcus, listening through the monitors in his earpiece, heard every word. "Mom, I don't know what to do." "No, I haven't told him yet, because he just lost his sight. How can I burden him with this now?" "Mom, I'm scared. What if he leaves me when he finds out?" "Leaves her?" Marcus's mind raced. What could possibly make him leave her? But before he could hear more, his actual phone rang, the one Alicia knew about. She rushed to answer it, ending her private call. "Mr. Chen's residence." "Yes. He's here." "Who's calling?" Marcus heard her voice change, hardening. "No, Mr. Matthews. You cannot speak with my husband. I don't care what you want. Our business is concluded. Stop calling here." She hung up with force. "Who was that?" Marcus asked, emerging from the bedroom. "Nobody important," Alicia said quickly. "Just a spam caller." First direct lie. Marcus noted it, filed it away. That evening, Alicia helped him into the shower, a humbling experience even though it was an act. She was careful, respectful, treating him with dignity. When he slipped slightly, she caught him with surprising strength. "I've got you," she whispered. "Always." As the water ran over them, Marcus realized something terrifying. He was starting to doubt his own plan. Because if this was all an act on her part, she deserved an Oscar, and if it wasn't, what kind of monster was he for doubting her? Act 3. The Revelation. 2 weeks into his blindness, Marcus received an unexpected visit. Trevor Matthews had shown up at the gate, demanding to see him. "Should I send him away, sir?" James asked through the earpiece. Marcus made a split-second decision. "No, let him in. I want to hear what he has to say." When Trevor entered the study where Marcus sat, pretending to stare at nothing, the tension was immediate. "Marcus," Trevor's voice was cold, "I heard about your condition. Unfortunate." "What do you want, Trevor?" "I want to talk about your wife." Marcus's hands gripped the armrests of his chair. "Get out. Hear me out first. Alicia and I have been meeting because I know you've been meeting. I know everything. The words came out like venom, even though Marcus was technically still supposed to be blind to the situation. Trevor laughed, a bitter sound. You don't know anything. Has she told you about her brother? The room went silent. What brother? Ah, so she hasn't told you. Your wife has a younger brother. Marcus Derek. He's 22, and he's been in prison for the past 3 years. Marcus's mind reeled. Alicia had told him she was an only child. Her parents were dead, or so she'd said. You're lying. I wish I was. Derek got mixed up with the wrong people. Drug trafficking. He's serving 15 years at Redwood Correctional. Alicia's been visiting him monthly, sending money, trying to get him a better lawyer. That's where she goes every third Saturday, not to yoga retreats. The room spun. Marcus fought to maintain his blind facade, but inside, his world was collapsing. Why would she lie about that? Trevor's voice softened. Because she knew your background, Marcus. She knew you built your empire legally, ethically. She knew you despise criminals. She was terrified you'd leave her if you knew her brother was a convict. So she erased him from her history. And where do you fit into this? Derek is my nephew. Alicia is my ex-wife's sister. We've been trying to raise money for Derek's appeal. That's what the documents were at the CAF legal paperwork. The meetings, the phone calls, the affair you probably think we're having. It's all been about trying to save her brother. Marcus felt like he'd been punched. If this is true, why didn't she just tell me? Because you've always been clear about your principles, Marcus. No criminals, no exceptions. She thought if you knew, you'd see her differently. Maybe she was right. Maybe she was wrong. But she loved you enough to lie. After Trevor left, Marcus sat in stunned silence. He heard Alicia's car pull up, heard her footsteps approaching. Marcus, I'm home. I brought your favorite soup from. She stopped. Baby, what's wrong? You look upset. Tell me about Derek. The shopping bag hit the floor. In the silence that followed, Marcus heard her sharp intake of breath. How do you know about Derek? Trevor was here. Oh God. Her voice was small, broken. Marcus, I can explain. Why didn't you tell me you had a brother? She was crying now. Really crying. Because I was scared. I was scared you'd see me as some criminal's sister. That you'd think I was tainted by association. That you'd leave me like everyone else did when Derek got arrested. I would never, wouldn't you? Her voice rose with emotion. Marcus, you've built an empire on integrity. Your whole life is about being above reproach. How could I tell you that my baby brother, the kid I raised after our parents died, ended up in prison? How could I admit that I failed him? That I'm not the perfect woman you thought you married? Marcus stood, forgetting for a moment that he was supposed to be blind. He took 3 sure steps toward her voice before catching himself and stumbling. But Alicia didn't notice. She was too lost in her confession. Every month, I visit him. Every month, I see what prison is doing to him. He made mistakes, Marcus. Terrible mistakes. But he's still my brother, and I couldn't abandon him. But I also couldn't lose you. So I lied. I've been lying for 3 years, and it's been killing me. She sank to the floor, sobbing. When you lost your sight, I promised myself I'd tell you. Once you got better, once you could see again, I'd tell you everything and accept whatever happened. But you can't even look at me now, and maybe that's better. Maybe it's easier this way. Marcus stood there, this powerful man who'd built a billion-dollar empire, who'd orchestrated this elaborate deception to test his wife's loyalty, and realized he'd been testing the wrong thing entirely. She hadn't been disloyal. She'd been terrified. She hadn't been betraying him. She'd been protecting a broken family while trying to preserve their love. And he'd been so busy looking for betrayal that he'd missed the real tragedy. His wife had been carrying this burden alone, thinking she couldn't trust him with her truth. Act 4. The choice. Marcus couldn't sleep that night. Alicia had cried herself to exhaustion and fallen asleep on the couch, emotionally drained. He sat in his study, the contact lenses still in, maintaining his deception even though everything had changed. He called James. I need you to investigate. Derek Martinez. Everything. The arrest. The conviction. The case files. I want to know if there's any chance of appeal. Sir? Are you ending the test? Marcus hesitated. Not yet. I need to think. Over the next 3 days, Marcus learned everything about Derek. The kid had been manipulated by a drug dealer who preyed on college students. Derek had been a courier, not a dealer, but the prosecutor had gone for maximum sentencing. There was evidence of entrapment that his public defender had missed. With the right lawyer, a proper appeal could reduce his sentence significantly, possibly get him released within a year. Marcus made phone calls discreetly, through intermediaries. He contacted the best criminal defense attorney in the state. He arranged for Derek's case to be reviewed. He set up a legal fund, all without Alicia knowing. But the question remained, should he reveal his deception? On the fourth day, Marcus found Alicia in their bedroom, packing a suitcase. "What are you doing?" His voice was sharp. She jumped, startled. "Marcus, I think I should stay somewhere else for a while. Give you space to process everything about Derek. Unpack that suitcase." "But," I said, "unpack it, Alicia." She did, her hands shaking. When she finished, she stood there, vulnerable and afraid. "Come here," Marcus commanded softly. She approached slowly. When she was close enough, he reached out, finding her hands with his. "I'm angry that you lied," he said carefully, "but I understand why you did. And I'm angrier at myself for creating an environment where you felt you couldn't tell me the truth. Marcus, your brother made mistakes. So have I. The difference is, he's paying for his, and I never did. Maybe it's time we fix that." "What do you mean?" "I'm going to help Derek. I've already started the process. The best criminal attorney in the state is reviewing his case. If there's a path to appeal, we'll take it." Alicia's breath hitched. You'd do that? Even though you can't see?" "Even though, especially because I can't see," Marcus interrupted. The irony wasn't lost on him. Sometimes blindness gives you clarity. I've been so focused on building an empire of integrity that I forgot about mercy, about family, about the fact that people make mistakes and deserve second chances. She collapsed against him, crying into his chest. "I don't deserve you." If only she knew, Marcus thought bitterly. If only she knew what kind of man. "I really am the kind who would fake blindness to test his wife's loyalty." That night, as Alicia slept peacefully for the first time in weeks, Marcus made a decision. He would end the deception. Tomorrow, he would stage a miracle recovery. He'd tell her some story about the swelling in his brain reducing, about his vision returning suddenly. He'd never tell her the truth about the test. But as he lay there in the darkness, truly blind with the contact lenses in, he realized something else. He'd been the blind one all along, blind to his wife's pain, blind to the impossible position he'd put her in with his rigid principles, blind to the fact that real loyalty isn't about never making mistakes. It's about standing by someone even when they do. The next morning, Marcus prepared his performance. He'd called Dr. Morrison, who would come to the house and confirm the miraculous recovery. Everything was in place. But then, at breakfast, something happened that changed everything. Alicia's phone rang. She answered it, and Marcus heard her gasp. "What? When? Oh my God. Is he okay?" Yes. I'll be right there." She hung up, her hands shaking. "Marcus, it's Derek. There was an incident at the prison. He's in the hospital. I have to go to him. I'll come with you." "Marcus, you can't see. The trip, the stress. He's my brother-in-law." "I'm coming." The drive to the prison hospital was tense. Alicia held Marcus's hand the entire way, and through his earpiece, James gave him updates on the route. When they arrived, Derek was conscious but badly bruised. A fight had broken out in the yard, and he'd been caught in the middle. "Alicia?" Derek's voice was young, scared. "I'm here, baby brother. I'm here." Marcus stood back, listening to their reunion. Derek was apologizing, crying, saying he'd ruined everything. Alicia was comforting him, promising it would be okay. Then Derek noticed Marcus. "Who's that?" "That's my husband." "Marcus, this is Derek." "Your husband? The billionaire?" Derek's voice was panicked. "Alicia, what were you thinking, bringing him here?" "Now he knows. He knows everything," Alicia said softly. "And he's going to help you." Derek went silent. Then, quietly, "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." Marcus stepped forward carefully, maintaining his blind act. "Because family helps family, and like it or not, you're family now." In that moment, Derek broke down. This young man, hardened by 3 years of prison, cried like a child. And Alicia held him, and Marcus stood beside them. And something shifted in the universe. Act 5. The truth. They returned home late that night. Derek was stable, and the prison had agreed to place him in protective custody while his case was under review. The new attorney Marcus had hired was optimistic about the appeal. In their bedroom, Alicia helped Marcus prepare for bed, as she had every night since the accident. "Marcus," she said softly, "thank you for everything, for not leaving me, for helping Derek, for being the man I always knew you were." The guilt hit Marcus like a physical blow. She was thanking him. After everything he'd done, the deception, the test, the surveillance, she was thanking him. He couldn't do it anymore. "Alicia, sit down. I need to tell you something." She sat beside him on the bed, taking his hand. "What is it?" Marcus reached up and slowly removed the contact lenses. He blinked, looking directly at her for the first time in weeks. Really looking at her. Her eyes widened in shock. "Marcus? Can you see?" I could always see. The confusion on her face was painful to watch. "What? I don't understand." And so he told her everything. The suspicions that Trevor was having an affair with her, the decision to fake blindness, the test, the surveillance, all of it. With each word, Alicia's expression changed from confusion to hurt to anger to something that looked like betrayal. When he finished, she stood up, walking away from him. "You tested me," she said, her voice hollow. "You pretended to be blind to test my loyalty." "Yes, because you thought I was having an affair. I was wrong, Alicia. I was so wrong." She spun around, and he saw fury in her eyes. "You made me bathe you. You made me cut your food. You made me rearrange our entire life around your disability. And it was all a lie to see if I'd stay." "I'm sorry." "Sorry?" She laughed, a broken sound. "Marcus, I poured my heart out to you. I told you about Derek, something I'd been terrified to share, while you already knew. You let me think you were vulnerable when you were actually in complete control. Do you have any idea how that feels?" Marcus stood, reaching for her, but she stepped back. Don't touch me right now. "Alicia, please. I need time. I need to think." She grabbed her phone and keys. "I'm going to stay with a friend tonight." "Alicia, wait." But she was already gone, the door closing behind her with finality. Marcus stood alone in his mansion, surrounded by all the wealth and success he'd accumulated, and realized he might have just lost the only thing that truly mattered. For 3 days, Alicia wouldn't take his calls. James reported that she was staying at her friend Maria's apartment. She'd gone to work at her nonprofit job but otherwise stayed out of sight. Marcus had never felt so helpless. All his money, all his power couldn't fix what he'd broken. On the 4th day, she finally answered his call. "I'll meet you at the house. We need to talk." When she arrived, she looked exhausted. They sat in the living room, the space between them feeling like a canyon. "I've done a lot of thinking," Alicia began. "About us, about trust, about what happened." Marcus braced himself for the worst. "What she did was cruel, Marcus. It was manipulative and controlling, and it showed a fundamental lack of trust in me and us. Part of me wants to walk away and never look back." "I understand. I'm not finished." Her voice was firm. "But I also realized something. I lied to you for 3 years. I created a fake history, erased my brother from my life, and lived a deception every single day. I told myself it was to protect our marriage, but really, I didn't trust you either. I didn't trust that you'd love me if you knew the truth." She looked at him with tears in her eyes. "We're both guilty, Marcus. We both let fear override trust. So here's what I propose. We start over. No more lies. No more tests. We go to counseling. We learn to trust each other. And we build something real. Or we walk away now and admit this marriage was built on a foundation of deception that neither of us can overcome." Marcus didn't hesitate. "I choose us. I choose the truth. I choose you." "Then prove it. Not with grand gestures or money or power. Prove it by being honest, vulnerable, and human." "Can you do that?" For the first time in his life, Marcus Chen, the billionaire, who'd built an empire through calculated risks and strategic moves, took the biggest risk of all. He let go of control. "Yes," he said simply, "I can try." Alicia nodded slowly. "Then that's where we start. With trying." Epilogue. 6 months later, Derek walked out of prison. His sentence commuted thanks to the appeal Marcus had funded. He was thinner, older in ways that had nothing to do with age, but alive and free. Marcus and Alicia were there to meet him, their hands intertwined not perfectly, but honestly. They'd spent 6 months in therapy, learning to trust each other, learning that love without trust is just possession, and trust without honesty is just delusion. Some days were harder than others. Some days, the hurt resurfaced, but they were trying, and trying was enough. As they drove Derek to the halfway house where he'd start his new life, Marcus glanced at Alicia in the rearview mirror. She was smiling at something Derek was saying, her laugh genuine and free. He'd tested her loyalty and found it true. But more importantly, she'd tested his capacity for growth, for change, for real love, and he'd passed, barely, by the skin of his teeth. Sometimes the greatest vision comes not from perfect sight, but from learning to see clearly after blindness.